In this video, I'm going to show you how I anchored my Suncast 8x10 shed. This is a plastic or resin shed that I've had for over a year now, and I'm going to show you how I anchored it. If you're looking for more information on these types of sheds, check out my channel. I have a video on how I created this base and much more. This particular shed has survived the 4 seasons and all associated weather, including blizzards and high winds. Some of these winds have been gale-type wind and winds over 60 miles an hour. Here you can see the initial construction of the Suncast shed, and you can see inside the shed on the floorboards you have these round circles. Now this is where we're going to drive our spikes, and these spikes are going to anchor this shed to our foundation. In this case, it's a gravel foundation, but everywhere you see this circle, we're going to drive a special spike in order to anchor our shed and make sure it doesn't move or fly away. It's important that we drive in these anchor spikes to the floorboards, as many as we can, especially on the corners. This Suncast shed is sitting on a gravel base, and you can see I use 4x4 posts to hold the gravel, and that's where the shed sits on top. Now I could have anchored the shed on the 4x4 posts that you see here, which are being held in place with rebar, but as you can see, my shed, I left an inch all around where the 4x4 posts are, and you can see the gravel. So the shed is actually sitting on top of the gravel and not on the posts. So when we drive in our anchor spikes, they're gonna go ahead and grab onto the gravel. So it's important that they're long enough that they penetrate the floorboard. And you can see this particular spike has a 1-inch head. It's galvanized and it has grooves. And those grooves, once you drive it down, are gonna hold in place whatever material is under there. It's gonna grab onto that material and hold in place. So it's important that you have the right spike, that it's long enough, and you have the right ground anchors for this application. This application would also work on wood sheds. What you would do is you would drill a hole first with a smaller diameter and then drive the spike into the ground, and that would go ahead and hold your wood shed in place as well. But you can see here I'm working with a plastic shed. You can see the manufacturer has these holes. That way you can put the spikes in there, and that's exactly what I'm doing in order to keep this shed from moving in the wind. Again, this technique could easily be adapted to a wood shed. Here you get a better look at my base for the shed, which you can also use a wood shed on top of this base, but you can see when I drive this spike, those grooves are going to catch on to the gravel underneath, and over time the gravel and the anchor spike are going to lock in place, preventing that shed from moving. There's a link to this particular anchor stake and more in the description, so check out the description for links to the products that I'm using and follow this technique to secure your shed. Now, like I said, I've had this shed for over a year, gusts of over 60 miles an hour winds with no issues whatsoever. One of the important things, as I mentioned before, is you want to drive these spikes, especially in the corners, so all 4 corners. You want to drive as many anchor spikes as you can overall. As I drive these anchor spikes down, what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and interlock with the gravel base that I have here. And over time, it's actually going to go ahead and lock in place even more and prevent it from moving. So it's important to have these spikes, as many as you can, like I said, especially in the corners. And this technique, as I mentioned before, will work for a wooden shed, and especially if you have a base like I have, a gravel base. This method is very cost effective and it works. Now, another thing that we must consider is a shed is going to have weight, and all that weight is also going to hold the shed down. As you can see here on my shed, I have paint, I have a lawnmower, and really all of this is going to add more weight to the shed and hold it down and prevent the wind from moving it. You can see on my shed I put a piece of plywood as well to cover the base, but really the anchor bolts combined with the weight that's already in the shed is going to help it to keep it down as well. And I've had this for over a year. It's been through many storms, high gusts of wind, winds of over 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. It's held in place without any problems, just by using the methods that I showed here on this video, and these methods would also work for wood shed. I hope this video has been informative. If it has, leave a comment, put a like, and subscribe for more videos.